May the Lord add a blessing to the reading of his word. And the reading of his word today will be from the book of Acts, chapter 1, verses 6 to 8. So when the disciples met together, they asked him, "Lord, are you at this time going to restore the kingdom to Israel?" Jesus said to them, "It is not for you to know the times or dates the Father has set by his own authority, but you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and in all Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth." And this is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
I wanted to introduce something to you about what we're doing today as we share about this second of the three great loves, this idea about love of neighbor. So to start that, I want you to just close your eyes for a moment. Imagine yourself on the shore of a lake, pond, just some body of water where the water's really still and calm. You're holding in your hand just a plain old rock. Holding that in your hand, and if you're like me, when you're holding a rock on the side of a pond, you kind of want to throw it in. So you toss that rock into the pond, and within about a second, there are two things that are going to happen. First thing, you can open your eyes now. First thing is something's pretty obvious. The rock's going to hit the water. When the rock hits the water, there's going to be a splash, and then it's going to start rippling out. Circles that just spread out from where that rock fell in the water. But the second is one of those that might not seem obvious at first, but when you say it, you're like, well, yeah, of course. And then that's that unless you go and dive into the pond, that rock is now a part of that pond. And whatever happens to that pond affects that rock from there on out. In a sense, you might say that the rock is now in relationship with the pond. We just heard, as Carolyn read, that passage from Acts chapter 1. This message that Jesus gives to his followers to go out. Go from Jerusalem to all Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth. Always when I've heard that, I've imagined that kind of like the ripples in a pond. That Jesus is talking about, you're going to be my witnesses. You're going to be the ones who are going to be that first ripple right there in Jerusalem. Right where we are right now. And it's going to go further out. Beyond that, it's going to go to that region of Samaria that's outside of what you've kind of been expecting and planning to go to before. It's going to go to there, and it's going to go to all of Judea. It's going to go beyond the borders. And then it's going to go to the ends of the earth. That way that those ripples just keep spreading out. But the other thing that he says, you will be my witnesses. Now that is a scary word, I think, for us in the church sometimes, because if you're like me, at least in my church growing up, when you heard the word witness, that meant you were going around door to door and knocking on people's doors and saying, "Hi, Ken, do you know Jesus?" But a witness is just simply telling a story. So a witness in a courtroom, they are telling their story, what they saw, what they experienced, what they felt, what they remember. A witness to the gospel is one who is simply telling their story of how they've encountered Jesus, how they've experienced God working in the world. That's what being a witness is. It's being in a relationship with somebody to where you can share your story and you can hear theirs. And so the circles we're going to talk about today, starting in a moment with Melissa Cox. Imagine those ripples going out from right here in Fort Thomas to the communities right around here, going further out across the river and throughout the states, the tri-state around us, and going further out and further out and further out to Belize and to Kenya and to the ends of the earth. And how we build relationship with our neighbor through all of that. So as I shared, Melissa Cox, the chair of our mission team, is going to share the first of those.
And as you're about to witness, public speaking is not my strength. So I want to ask your forgiveness. I may end up reading most of this. But I am pleased to share with you why our mission team exists, the reasons for it, why we do the work that we do. And really, it's all of us, our mission group. It's our entire congregation. We want all of you to feel welcome to join us. We meet monthly. You don't have to be obligated to be there every month. We just want to know about the needs that you see in the world and how our church might help. So please feel free to join us. During the New Beginnings process we conducted many years ago, we decided that we were a missional church, that our purpose was to further God's mission in the world. That is to heal and restore God's creation and God's people to wholeness and abundant life as God intends. And that may not have come as a big surprise to many of you, because we have had an active mission group in our church for a very long time. But I think it was an important decision and a distinction to focus and engage our entire church in carrying out that mission. We devote our time, our efforts, significant financial resources to participating in and supporting programs and activities that promote justice, renewal, peace, and unity, all flowing from God's command that we love God and we love our neighbor as ourselves. So our current mission statement, which is to embrace all as we journey the way of Jesus, bears out our continued intent to be God's servants. Pastor Ed's recent sermons helped us understand Jesus' way. His life and his teachings are about radical inclusion, love, forgiveness, and service. When our mission team gathers to discuss projects that we might undertake, how we can best allocate funds, it's apparent that each person there is motivated by a very deep concern for our neighbors, both near and far. A concern that they may be suffering from hunger, cold, disease or injury, illness, violence or abuse, a lack of adequate shelter, or clean water. The needs that our neighbors have may be due to temporary circumstances or disasters, or they could be the result of a longer-term issue. We try to alleviate both those immediate needs and to address the underlying causes of poverty by working with agencies that assist people to obtain education and employment or any other tool that they may need to move away from that life of want and scarcity and fear and toward a life that's filled instead with God's joy and love. And it's that dedication to trying as best we can to love God and our neighbors that leads us to serve others in the hope they too will know God's love more fully. Your generous response whenever our team notifies you of ways to contribute to the support of our neighbors, most recently evidenced by those quickly filling shelves out in the Narthex for Brighton Center and Jose House, that makes it clear that you too are trying to fulfill God's call to love our neighbor. And so on behalf of our mission team, I want to thank you very much for that love and care.